You know the vibe. All spice, no sugar. Let's get into it.
Alrighty, welcome back to another episode on the Don't Sugarcoat It podcast. As you can tell, potentially from my voice, it's been a bit of a wormhole in the past few weeks since we recorded last time, and I'm coming to you recording this episode literally only 2 days after my last 3-day event, creatHER. And I want to speak into that because 2 weeks before that event, I was in a motherfucking wormhole. Or my mentor likes to call it the butthole because it's dark inside and it's just a shit time. So I want to speak into that because it completely changed me as a leader. It completely changed how I show up, how I facilitate, how I see myself, and how I lead my business. So let me take you to about 2 weeks ago. It was just before my event, and I felt like things were up shit's creek. I felt like I wanted to burn the entire thing down. I was overanalyzing everything. I was overthinking everything. And then at the same time, I feel like I couldn't think about anything. And it was coming up to my event. Tickets were selling tickets had sold, and I had more people in the room that I've ever had at this event. And I felt like a failure. I felt like I should have had more, or I should be more prepared, or I should have more things organized. Or I was also financially stressed as well because I was having invoices, felt like they were coming out of my asshole. And I felt so stretched and capped in every way possible. And I remember thinking, like, how am I going to lead and facilitate a room full of women in business while I feel like I've got my shit sideways? And it's such an interesting thing because I feel like now that I'm at this point in the game where I am a leader in the industry and I facilitate women across the nation and also coach women internationally, I feel like somewhere along the line, I unconsciously put my business on a pedestal and forgot that I was also a human experiencing the business evolution at the same time. And I think too, with the amount of personal development that I've done and the fact that I've been in this game for a while now, I understand that. And this is something that I teach my clients as well. Like, I facilitate a lot of my clients into running their own events. And I always tell them, like, expect to be tested, expect to be stretched before your event because it's part of the initiation. If you're not feeling like a failure before your event, you're obviously not playing the game big enough. And that's literally what I tell my clients. And like I said, I've run many, many events now. I think we calculated that I've done 19 events in 18 months since starting my business. And that's pretty freaking crazy. And if anyone has run events or international or national tours and multiple day events, you know the fucking stress and you know the chaos around facilitating events and the stretch. And I just feel like because I have done so much now, I forgot my humanness along the journey. And 2 weeks ago, and probably I was pacing around the house and I literally was voice messaging my mentor. Like, some days I'd wake up and I'd feel great. I'm like, fuck yeah, I feel good. And then a few hours later, I would just feel like shit. And I constantly kept saying, I feel like defeated. I feel defeated. I just feel this threat of defeat. Like, no matter how hard I was trying to show up, to be the mentor, to get more people in the room, I just felt like every avenue that I was going at or every angle that I was coming at to go to the next level, I was just getting like doors shut in my face or things falling through. And it really made me sit in my shit and question myself. And it was really hard. And I found myself really struggling to get myself out of the feelings of feeling like a failure. And it like, hindsight is a beautiful thing now because I see now that I needed to go through all of that. And when I felt like it came around to the week of my event, I was like, okay, I'm going to get my shit together this week. And then I woke up on Monday with a cracking headache, a horribly, disgustingly phlegmy cough, so nasty, and had fevers. And I basically had to cancel my entire week leading into the event and pretty much die in my bed. And I spent the entire week leading into my 3-day event completely rotting away. And this tested me in ways that I never expected. I thought the week prior, the week prior where I was feeling defeated and feeling over like stressed out, but also paralyzed at the same time, was my stretch, was my wormhole. And then came Monday and I was absolutely hit with such a horrible flu. And it literally kicked me out for 4 days that I literally lied in my bed. And at the time I was like, literally felt like yelling at the universe, like, what the actual fuck? Like, why put me through this? And I had so many things that I wanted to organize for the event that week. Still had to prepare slides and my presentation and just go through refining of what I wanted to do with my team. And I was forced to literally stop and sit in my shit. And it's so interesting because I feel like every time I was getting close towards the breakthrough of being like, oh, on the other side, all right, it's game time, I actually felt like my spirit guides and the universe were like pushing me harder and deeper into the stretch to go deeper within myself. And I realized the wormhole is there to make you believe that your leadership is invalid. But instead, it's not proof that you're failing, or it's not there to make you feel like a failure and be like, hey, you're a failure. It's actually there to prove that you're stretching and that you're moving in ways that are bigger than any way that you've ever attempted to before. And I remember lying in my bed one of the days, I can't even remember because literally the few days lying, like leading into the 3-day event was just a blur. And I just remember sitting there like, why am I experiencing this right now? What am I learning? And I realized that I needed to literally kill the version of me before I could step into my next level. And I was forced to literally purge and let go and let the old me rot away in the bed and let go of all of the people pleasing, the control, the perfectionist, the performer that I have once been. Because it for me, performing and putting on a show and speaking and running events, like when I'm in that energy, I feel unstoppable. And I realized that I attached my self-worth to that identity. And in order for me to expand into even more impact and even bigger transformation for all the women that I'm here to lead, that part of me actually had to die. And that's pretty much what I was initiated into during one of the most challenging few weeks of my life. So a wormhole is essentially a period where the way I see it is like right now you're in a current identity or current reality, and usually you've taken action and you've decided to do something that you haven't done before that's going to stretch your capacity. And that thing is going to catapult you into your next level, into your next identity. And the wormhole is often the period in between. So you think about it's like when you're going through a black hole, like think of the movie like Interstellar, when they go into the black hole and everything is like shaking and like everything is getting warped, and there's like that person coming through basically the side of the spaceship, and they're like coming through. In that moment in Interstellar, when they're going through the wormhole and everything feels like it's going to break down and it's going to, like they're going to crash or they're going to explode, that is pretty much what a wormhole in reality feels like. It's the overthinking. It's the what if this doesn't go right? What, like comparing yourself to others. And for me and for anyone who has gone through quantum leaps in their business, that's exactly the feeling of shifting into your next level, is going through that wormhole, literally, where everything is like stretching you in all the different ways. And like you'll experience financial strain, like questioning it. How the fuck am I even going to pay for this? Like, am I even good enough to do this? Are people even going to get value from this? Like, these are the questions and these are the things that you go through when you're in a wormhole. And these are exactly the feelings that I was going through. Literally. And I think it's so ironic now because anyone that I tell, they're like, what the fuck, Kenny? I literally shared this entire journey that I went through in my 3-day event over the weekend, and my clients were like, are you kidding me? Every single person in that room was like, are you kidding me that you thought that this wasn't going to be valuable, when every single person in that room walked out completely transformed? And it's so interesting, the games that I have played in my own mind, and I'm wondering, like, if you felt that too, if you felt that question and that over analytic mind questioning what you're even doing. And what I have realized now, if you've never had that moment of wanting to burn everything fucking to the ground, then you're not playing big enough. It's quite plain and simple. If you're not questioning yourself and you're not putting yourself, if you're not experiencing this wormhole, then you're actually not playing big enough. You're not making big enough moves, and you will continue to stay stuck, mediocre, and not satisfied or not fulfilled or not proud of the person that you are. So as much as going through this fear of failure, or if you're in it now, just know that you're right where you need to be in order to catapult into your next level. And I don't think enough people talk about this. And this is why I wanted to speak about it in this episode, because I feel like there's such a perceived perception around successful leaders or entrepreneurs that have had widespread success, that everyone knows that it's not easy, but no one really talks about how much you have to be willing to go to the depths of your mind and overcome the battles that happens within. Because I think that's why people aren't successful, is because they don't have the tools and they don't have the resources, or they don't have the support or the environment to help them guide and move through these wormholes, because it is fucking hard. And even someone who has had widespread success, it doesn't get easier either. You just learn to move through it with more grace and to accept the process. In fact, I think, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of hard when I look back at, like, okay, well, how did I feel when I went through my very first event? It was still a wormhole. I was still stretched. I was still overanalyzing and questioning, like, what the fuck am I even doing? And those feelings and emotions are still there a year and a half later, when I have run national events and like multi-day transformational events. But the thing that changes is your acceptance into the surrender. So how did I navigate through that period of time? So I'm going to explain to you what I actually did to help navigate through that period of time. So if you're someone who is currently experiencing that, these are the things that I've done and the tools that I use to lead myself, the energetics that I leveraged, the conversations that I had, and also how I regulated my nervous system during this period. Because I think it's really important that if you don't look at what tools you can incorporate into these periods, then you're not going to be able to move beyond your current wormhole into a bigger one. And I think that's another thing too, is like, be in acceptance that the wormholes are only going to get bigger, and they should. They're a direct reflection of the amount that you're growing and moving and the next level that you're stepping into. I honestly think now, with having gone through it and being on the other side, that the bigger the wormhole is, the bigger the fucking breakthrough. So here's things that it does. So I actually felt my emotions, which might sound so simple, but my past tendencies is to be an optimist, is to avoid and push all of my feelings and all of my emotions outside of myself to just get the fucking job done. In the past, I would just like move through it and just say to myself, you know, I'll be fine. Like this probably sounds really weird. Sometimes I just thought like emotions were pointless. I was like, why bother feeling them? They're just going to make me slow down. And and I've realized now that that is literally the complete opposite. The complete opposite of what you should be doing is actually allowing yourself to traverse through the emotions. Something that my mentor kept saying to me is like, stop pushing the beach ball down. Allow it to actually just move through the water. And so I want you to think about if you had a beach ball in the ocean and you were trying to push the beach ball down underneath the water, eventually it would literally just blow up in your face. And that is the same thing around holding your emotions or pushing them outside of you or just moving beyond them and not actually feeling them. So when I said to my mentor, I'm sick, I'm fucking sick, she said, great. Now you have no other options but to feel your emotions, because she knows my tendencies and my behaviors is to just move forward, is to just like, put my horse blinkers on, put my nose down and get shit done. And she was like, I'm actually so glad that you got sick because it forced you to move through your emotions and actually navigate deeper within yourself. And the deeper that you can navigate through your own internal system, the deeper you're going to be able to facilitate your clients, or the deeper you're actually going to be able to transform other people that are in your space. I also, of course, had my mentor. So I had someone to work with, to hold, to allow, to be held by. If it was like, I know that I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my mentor. Not only does she hold me to a higher standard, but she also holds space for me to move through all of these emotions. And I honestly think it's so underrated with having a coach and having a mentor. And I'm so grateful that my mentor is someone that I've been working with for almost 18 months now. And I know she's going to be the person that gets me to seven figures, because she sees me on a level that no other person has ever seen me. And she has traversed through so much deep internal work herself. So I know that when it comes to rewiring my mental state, rewiring my nervous system, and moving through all of the wormholes and all of the buttholes, that she's the person to do it because she's done it herself. And I want you to look at that too when it comes to working with a mentor who's moved through the shit to get to where they are. And how have they moved through that? How have they moved through it with grace or integrity, authenticity, authority? How are they embodied in what they actually teach? Like, my mentor is so embodied in what she teaches. So I know that exactly what I'm moving through. If she's like, yes, this needs to happen for you to get to next level, I trust that. I believe that. Something else that I did was work on my nervous system regulation. And from my own experience, if this is not done, the lesson will come back to you. And I've read this book, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabby Bernstein, and she talks about universal assignments. And with these universal assignments, if you do not complete the universal assignment, it will come back to you in a different phase, in a different situation, in a different scenario, but it'll be the same thread. So what I have chosen to do and what I've learned throughout my journey is actually learning how to regulate my nervous system in the chaos and in the stretch. Because when you can regulate and actually hold yourself with grace and be in the presence of how stretched you are, and find peace and surrender in that, it's only calibrating you to holding more money, holding more people, holding more results. So the more that you can regulate your nervous system, and the way that I did that is through meditation, is through breath work, is through other energetic practices that has allowed me to just literally deepen and soften into the surrender of the stretch of the wormhole. And another thing that I love doing is I always anchor myself into the future version. Like, I always anchor myself into like how what I'm going through right now has helped me become my future version. So looking at my future or visualizing my future self and being like, why did this have to happen right now? So I always put myself in the future, whether it's literally a week in the future. For me, when I was sick and I was questioning myself, I would fast track myself to like, okay, a week in the future, what do I look like? How do I feel? What do I think when I look back in this moment? I'm like, okay, I would think, oh, she had to go through that because it taught her this. So in those moments, it made me realize, okay, like I'm literally just going through what I need to go through right now. And those little pieces allow me just to find more trust and acceptance in what it actually was happening, rather than pressuring myself or putting myself down or shaming myself because I wasn't performing the way that I wanted to. And then another important thing that I do is mirror gazing or eye gazing. I would spend time literally just looking into my eyes. I would sit in front of my mirror at home and I would look myself in the eye and I would repeat to myself, I love you, I choose you, I believe in you. And even though right now it feels like shit, even though right now like everything feels like fucking chaos and you feel defeated, it's okay to feel like that right now. It's okay to feel like that. And I still love you. And I know that whatever fucking happens, whatever the result is from this weekend, that you're still fucking amazing. You're still capable and I still love you. And if you haven't done this experience before, I really like urge you to have this process with yourself, because it allows you just like to really soften into being okay with where you are and realizing how you totally do have you. You totally have your own back. And it's teaching you to trust yourself. And any successful entrepreneur will tell you that success is only created from self-trust, to trust yourself when things feel like they're not adding up. So this process and this exercise is something that I do myself regularly. And even like the day of my events, I would look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I fucking love you. I know you can do this. You've done everything that you need to. Just go out there and be you. And that's something that just like makes me feel like super fired up and ready to go, and just in real gratitude and pride of what I have created. So there's some of the tools and the resources that I've had that I implement during these periods to really help me move through it. And it also taught me that if you want to lead powerful movements, if you want to lead powerful rooms, you have to lead yourself through these moments before you can lead others. And it just made me realize as well that the shit that I had to go through was so divinely orchestrated. And another piece here is like this, it was literally cause and effect. It was cause and effect. And because I facilitated myself deeper into it, it allowed the room when I was at my event, my 3-day event, because I had gone through such deep transformation within myself the 2 weeks prior to, it allowed the room to be activated faster. It allowed the room to see themselves in a deeper level. And I want to speak into a few of the breakthroughs that happened in the room. And the only reason these breakthroughs were allowed to happen is because the people that had these breakthroughs, they went through the wormholes themselves. They were in the right room with someone who has navigated theirs. And this is why I share to you, when you're looking at a mentor, look at who is embodied in their work. How are they leading? What transformation are they giving for others? What results are they creating? And how have they shifted through that within themselves? Like some of the breakthroughs that happened in the room, like one of my beautiful clients, she came up to me at the end of day 2, literally crying, like looking at me being like, I realize now why you trigger the fuck out of me. And she's been working with me since November last year, and we've worked through some incredible things, and she's become this beautiful powerhouse woman who has just like gone to so many deep layers of finding self-love for herself and overcome so much previous self-sabotage to then find liberation in her own self-love, and now teaches women the same thing. And she came up to me and she's like, I finally feel like I've cracked the code in why you trigger me so much. She's like, I realized that the power and the authority that you hold in the room is actually just a mirror of what I'm here to create. And from that, she was able to find a deeper layer of self-love and self-expression. She walked out, she's like, I feel like a completely transformed woman, that I can now fully stand in my power and lead rooms of women and stop playing small of just running like small women circles, but actually step up into the next level of running an event, something that I've been thinking about doing for such a long time. And if it wasn't for you leading the room the way that you did, I wouldn't have been able to see that in myself. One of the other breakthroughs is another beautiful person in the room who ironically is like so gorgeous and so full of life and fun and energy, had the biggest fear of speaking in front of women. And I facilitated this process with her where she was basically received a compliment from every single woman in the room without saying anything and just receiving it, saying thank you and just receiving it. And from that experience, she turned to me afterwards and she looked at me, she's like, I never knew what it actually felt like to fully love myself. And now I've realized that I do love myself. And because of that, I actually get to love others more. And for me to receive these things, like these are just two breakthroughs that have happened in the room. And like in a room of 30 people, that literally every single person at the end of that event came to me and said, you've changed my life. Because of you, I now feel confident enough to create my dreams or run the event or leave my partner or start my business. Every single person at the end of that event came up to me and shared something that they had broken through in those 3 days. And again, it just further anchored me into this fear of failure, that 90% of people don't jump into their dream life or take that leap of faith on themselves, is because they are feeling this fear of failure. And I want to leave you with this. The feeling of failure or the fear of failure isn't the enemy. In actual fact, one of our agreements over the last 3 days is I make fear my friend. So every event that I run, I make the room agree to 3 agreements. And one of the agreements that we had in the room at creatHER on the weekend was I make fear my friend. And now I want you to leave with this. Failure is not the enemy. It is the initiation fee for your next level. Welcome it, become friends with that, trust it, because it is going to be the piece that's going to shift you into your next level. So if this has been calling you and you feel everything that I've shared deep within your soul, I want to invite you to attend creatHER in December. We're running this event at the Langham in the Gold Coast on the 11th, 12th, and 13th of December. creatHER is a 3-day transformational event for women in business where we blend branding, business energetics, and deep personal development breakthroughs so you can fully step into her, the version of you that you have dreamt about. If you feel this in your soul, if you felt a calling to go deeper within yourself and are ready to fully let go of the past versions of you that have kept you stuck, held you back, kept you playing small, then this is your call to step forward into this room. creatHER, December 11, 12, and 13. I'm going to be putting the website in the show notes below, or you can just send me a message on Instagram at KennyTheCreator_. And I would love to welcome you into this space. It is the most transformative room for women in business. So if that is you and you feel this in your soul, message me, creatHER, message me 3-day event on Instagram, or click the link in the show notes below and secure your spot for December now. Thank you, beautiful soul. I know this episode would have landed deep in your soul, so I trust that you got the pieces that you need. Anyway, I will be seeing you in the next episode of the Don't Sugarcoat It podcast. Bye.